Hey there, and welcome to Hacking Historical. I'm Kate, and today we will be making George Washington's historical eggnog recipe. As with all recipes, including raw or undercooked egg, consuming eggnog with raw egg can increase your risk for foodborne illness, so if you're going to make this, do consider the risk. Also, this is a drink known for its sneakily high alcohol content, so please drink responsibly. Before we do get into this, let's do a little bit of history on eggnog in general, and George Washington's own relationship with it. This eggnog recipe is only associated to the founding father, something believed to have started being associated with him in the early 19th century. While this might not be his personal recipe, it is a fun story, and he was not unfamiliar with other versions of this alcoholic specialty beverage. The origins of eggnog itself go back much further than the Revolutionary War, though. Most historians point to an origin sometime in the Middle Ages, specifically in England, it's thought. Eggnog derived from an old-timey drink called posset, which was a hot drink that contained a variety of other things, usually involving fortified wines or beer, cream, sugar, and eggs. If that's something you'd like me to make, let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to make historical cocktail recipes. There are several theories as to where the name eggnog itself came from. Some say it comes from the small wooden cups, known as nogs, that might have been used to serve it. Others say it could be from a strong beer, known as nog at the time, or a bastardization on eggrog, which I kind of love and will probably start using. The drink was a specialty due to the eggs and cream and alcohols like sherry used in its production at the time. Supposedly, the wintertime association with eggnog comes from making the drink at the harvest season, as it signals a decrease in egg production for the upcoming winter. Making eggnog and letting it age was a good way to preserve the high fat content in the drink for the leaner winter months, and it was often broken out to celebrate the darkest nights of the year, around the solstice, the Yuletide, Christmas, and New Year's Eve. Other times it became popular to drink eggnog, especially during the 19th century when it had its boom, included Washington's birthday, which is President's Day on February 22nd, and on the 4th of July. The drink came to the American colonies prominently in the early 1700s when rum, cheap here, was added to the collective recipe. George Washington's recipe itself calls for Jamaican rum in good quantity to be added to the mixture. Some other fun eggnog history. In 1826, there were the Eggnog Riots at West Point Military Academy after the commanding officer banned alcohol at the school and a bunch of cadets, being, students, snuck whiskey in. Over 70 cadets were involved in the riots, and 11 were eventually court-martialed and then expelled. It was also popular with politicians. At the end of 1859, the Chicago Tribune printed an editorial about the drinking going on in Washington, D.C., and the members of the House of Representatives in particular, saying that, quote, "Eggnog has ruled the country today. It is a famous drink in public and private houses in Washington on Christmas, and some of the members, in spite of it, reached the House today at noon, and some, in consequence of it, did not get there at all." Washington is not the only president associated with eggnog either. Often, Dwight D. Eisenhower was known for the batches he made every Christmas, which was not actually that different from the older historic recipes, although it is a bit sweeter than the one associated with George Washington. The modern history of eggnog, especially in scientific circles, is also pretty interesting. One former professor at Rockefeller University, a Dr. Rebecca Lansfield, would make eggnog every year for the science department's holiday party. She would let it sit for 2 to 3 weeks to let it age, and ostensibly because it has a better chance of eliminating salmonella and other bacteria with the alcohol content over that time frame. I should say, I'm not a scientist, and I'm not saying that this definitively kills the risk of salmonella. I do wait 3 weeks to drink my eggnog, though. More recently, Professor and lab head Vincent Fischetti made Lansfield's recipe as part of an experiment, introducing salmonella into the mixture and running cultures to see what the effects of alcohol in the mix would be. There is a video of this experiment on Science Friday's YouTube channel, link in the description. They ran one batch, so it wasn't technically a wide range of data collected. However, in their batch, the eggnog with the alcohol was sterile of salmonella and everything else at 3 weeks. Mine has personally been in the fridge for over 4 weeks. I've been drinking it since the 3-week mark, and it's pretty darn good. This one is not as sweet as the recipe I made last year, and I think I do prefer it with a little bit more sugar. The rum is really coming through though for me. It's like a sweet cream rum drink. I mean, it is a sweet cream rum drink. Now, George Washington's eggnog recipe calls for I also added some nutmeg in honor of John Townsend. Now, the recipe I followed had a little less alcohol in it. I also have the recipe of the rest of it, knowing that the whipped egg whites are ginormous, and I didn't want to use 2 gallons again because fridge space. I made that mistake last year. With the lesser booze content in mind, it's got 2-ish cups of hard liquor only. Well, only. First step, mix all of the liquors so that you have them handy in several steps. Step 2, separate the eggs, making sure that you don't get any yolk in your whites, otherwise they won't fluff quite as well. Also make sure that you're using an appropriate vessel to separate these eggs so you don't have to switch in the middle of it like an idiot. Step 3. Beat the sugar and the egg yolks together until it has a creamy consistency appearance. Slowly, very slowly, move on to step 4, where we add the liquor into the yolk mixture, and this should take approximately 30 minutes to get it mixed in properly. If you don't mix it slowly enough, the yolk clumps up chemically somehow. I'm not a scientist, and it's awful. There is a scientific term for this, I just don't know it. If you do know it, let me know in the comments below. It's got something to do with the proteins and the alcohol and like scrambles it, but it's not good. Once that's in, mix cream and milk into the mixture, mixing thoroughly. Then you set this aside for the moment, and it's time to whip your egg whites. Mix them until they form stiff peaks. If you don't do this for other things, check out some cooking videos which will much better explain it than I will, or watch the Great British Bake Off. If you're feeling daring, hold those whipped egg whites over your head to see if those peaks are stiff enough. Now you're going to fold these egg whites into the other mixture. This needs a bowl. This needs a big bowl. Otherwise, you look like a fool again. Note me. I had to go get another bowl because I make poor choices. Once that's folded in, put your giant jar and keep it in the fridge for a while. It keeps for a while. There's historical records of it keeping for over a year. I don't recommend that. It does keep for a while. I waited 3 weeks to start drinking mine, and I've been drinking it off and on for the last week plus. And if you don't mind the risk, you can start drinking it right away as well. The fresh eggs and the fresh yolk really add flavor to it that you don't get in the boxed pasteurized mixes in the store. Now, I mix it from time to time in the fridge, just so that the top doesn't dry out in the jug. And I also tend to strain it when I pour because I don't like the clumpy egg white foam remnants on top. If you want some more interesting facts about eggnog, I do have some links in the description to additional articles for your perusal. Till next time,